Good morning, this is Georgia Raisman. I'm here with BrettLennerton on Front Up, and we're going to talk this morning about our island home. Brett is its new administrator. How long have you been there?
My first day I started March 12th.
March 12th, this year.
Yes, only been a few months.
So goodness, what are your first impressions of our island home?
I think it's a great place. The care is wonderful, the staff is top-notch. Long history of great care, great service to the community, that's kind of a nice thing about the home. On the mainland, a lot of the nursing homes and skilled nursing centers are owned by companies that really push the bottom line, where the focus here is about us being a service to the community first.
How did you happen to get here? What's your background in nursing home care?
I right after college, when I was looking for a job, a friend of the family who was a regional administrator overseeing multiple buildings contacted me and thought it would be a great avenue for me to go into, and got me in as a maintenance director because I was handy in the trades. And I worked 7 years while I was going for my master's degree and waiting for my opportunity to do a administrator in training. There was a long line of them for the company he worked for, so I kind of learned the industry in the meantime. And then when I got my opportunity, I did my internship with Whittier Health, which is a big nursing home chain in Massachusetts. They also own rehab hospitals. And once I got my license, then I started my career as a nursing home administrator.
And where have you worked before you came here?
Before I came here, I most recently was in Revere, Massachusetts for 4 years. Mm-hmm. And before that, I was in New Hampshire. I'm actually from southern New Hampshire, right on the Mass border, so I was duly licensed. I had licenses in both states.
Mm-hmm. So being an administrator of a nursing home means being involved with a lot of paperwork, I assume, a lot of
Yes.
work with Medicaid and Medicare and various governmental and regulatory agencies?
Absolutely, yeah. The nursing home industry is the second most highly regulated industry in the world, second only to the nuclear industry.
And is that how do you view that? Is it a problem? Is it a burden? Is it an opportunity? Is it?
Well, I mean, it's a lot to do, but basically our reimbursement and what we do for the residents is proven and all by documentation. So the documentation that we have to is basically our proof of what we provide for the residents.
Mm-hmm. We are, I gather, a unique nursing home in the sense that the town owns it, as opposed to, as you said, a profit-making or even a nonprofit entity.
Yeah.
We are town-owned. Are there other town-owned nursing homes in the state?
In the state, there's only one other in Taunton. So we're very unique in that respect. Mm-hmm. In New Hampshire, I can tell you, working in both states, there's no municipally owned as far as town-owned like that. They do have nursing homes run by the counties, which is somewhat similar, a little bit different, but I unfortunately didn't have the history in working with any of them in New Hampshire. I was always in the private sector.
And being having been on both sides of that, how do you view the advantages or disadvantages of being a town-owned nursing home?
I think, well, again, I mean, a lot of the pluses of working for a town-owned entity, like their focus on what our focus should be. Again, coming from the private sector, it's all about the bottom line, and unfortunately, with the reimbursement the way it is, the companies often will cut staffing and expenses to meet their bottom lines. And at what point does it get to where it puts a wall up to achieving top quality care? Mm-hmm. Here, because they look at it like a service to the community, that's their focus. Would it be great if we could be a big money maker and everything? Of course, nobody's going to shake a stick at that, but it's really about providing a service to the community, and the finances fall where they may, but that's the number one focus. And that's a breath of fresh air in the industry.
Well, I'm sure that is true. I think the other thing I've seen happen probably before you came is the issue of whether our island home should be where it is. And there's been some discussion in the community, I'm sure you're familiar with it, about
Sure.
its site. because it's located on what is potentially a very valuable piece of real estate. And there's been some discussion among people whether the town would prefer to have that real estate sold or used for a more profitable purpose and have the nursing home located someplace else. And
Sure.
there are all sorts of rational, or what appear to be rational reasons for that, like putting it near Sherburne Commons and providing a kind of continuum of living experience out there.
Sure.
And as you may know, there was a huge pushback against that a couple of years ago that resulted in, I guess, restudying that whole issue.
Right.
So how do you have you been able to form an opinion on that issue?
No, I mean, I don't think it would be fair of me to form an opinion about, things and discussions that happened before my time. I mean, I can tell you that I think that where our island home is now, regardless of the value, is a great location for a nursing home for the people of Nantucket that have lived here their whole life. Get views of the harbor on a daily basis. I mean, I think it might even be lost on someone like me that's new to the community. But I mean, being municipally owned, where things will be, basically what the people dictate.
And do you see residents taking advantage of that location?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, we have a great, right now where the building sits, we have a great patio just outside it overlooking the harbor, and they're out there all the time when the weather's nice. I even go out there. In the front, we also have sitting benches that overlook the harbor, and I actually have a chocolate lab that joins me at work sometimes, and I'll take her out and we'll just sit out there, at break time, or sometimes have lunch out there, and she absolutely loves it too.
I've also heard discussions over what a nursing home should look like in terms of delivering the best functionality to residents and making it the best place for the professionals who work there to work. I mean, what are your views about that? What should it look like? There are people talking about pods and smaller living areas staffed by one or two people with kitchens or stuff like that.
Yeah, that's the small home model where they have like units of 8 or 10 residents. And like you said, I've seen buildings that were built like that before, where they have like a common area in the middle, and then they have like spokes coming off the common area where they'll have a small hallway. And like you said, it's almost like each pod operates within its own entity. It has its own nurses, its own nursing assistants, will have its own kitchen area, and laundry facilities, so they kind of all run separately. There's pluses and minuses to that. I don't necessarily think that model enables us to provide better care. It could provide a more home-like environment. However, even on a bigger stature, meaning like a 30 to 45 bed facility, depending on how you design the layout, you can still promote that home-like environment regardless.
How many people do we have at our island home? How many residents?
Right now we have 33 residents. We're licensed for 45 beds. However, we had taken some beds out of commission temporarily while we did some internal renovations of bathrooms and resident rooms and stuff. They just got completed right about the turn of the fiscal 19 year. So we're activated back to 40, and as we slowly start to fill up again, then we'll activate above 40. But that was probably the only way that we could get the renovations done. We took the opportunity that there was a temporary dip in census to move ahead and get some of that internal work done.
So do you find that there's a backup of people wanting to live there, residents wanting to live there, or is the flow going approximately according to the numbers of people available?
Well, so far, based on historical data, the census has always hovered in the high 30s to low 40s, that's about right. I mean, a 90+% occupancy is about the going tone out there in the industry. But nursing homes, as you know now, are not just about long-term residents. We also do short-term rehabilitation. And I think the focus is increasing on that industry-wide just because of the changing reimbursement. The reimbursement is tending to push people out of the hospital sooner, so they're sicker. So the next step down for that would be either acute rehab facilities or post-acute rehab.
You're doing that as well?
Yes, we do that.
That's interesting.
And the thing is that there's a lot that goes into that from a nursing. I mean, we provide the therapies, OT, PT, speech, all that stuff. However, our nursing capabilities, we need to increase. If we're going to be a service to the community, I think that we should really be a service to the community and do everything we possibly can. At least what I'm used to from the mainland, like IVs, other nursing components that we don't have a lot of experience with, and therefore haven't really done a lot in that realm. I've already taken the step to get our nurses IV certified, so now we can do IVs, and now we'll work on the next couple of things and just be more of a service to the community. I mean, the whole purpose is you don't want people going off island when they need care, short term or long term. So the more we can do, the more we fulfill that service model.
So do you have staffing issues? Is it easy or difficult to find your staff and train them appropriately?
I've
upgrade their
found,
training?
well, the biggest is nurses. Nursing aides, there seems to be an abundance
That's
of.
a national
But
issue,
with
isn't
nurses,
it?
yeah, it's a national issue. Being 30 miles off the coast on an island community where the cost of living from a housing perspective is higher doesn't work in our favor. We do have an open position right now that we are filling with a travel nurse, which travel nurses are great in the sense that they can come and stay for 13 weeks, 26 weeks, or even longer, depending on if they like it.
And
It comes at a
how
cost.
is that person housed?
Right now, we're providing housing, much like we do for other parts of the
Transient.
town. For employees. My hope is that attracting a nurse to the island and in such a way that they want to stay here and live here and everything. It's a unique opportunity, and it's similar to the opportunity that I was faced with. Island has a lot to offer. I think it's a great place, but you have to be at the right point in your life. The people that want to work in the hospitals and things like that, we're not going to be able to get them. The nurses that are maybe a little bit later in their careers, their kids just went off to college, empty nesters, that want to maybe slow the pace down, just have a more relaxed atmosphere and everything. This
Good
is what
ones.
it's about. And if so, what we're going to be doing moving forward, trying to fill that last nurse position, is actually, honestly, the nurse that's working for us now as a travel absolutely loves it here. So she's actually considering potentially just staying on and becoming a town employee, which would be great. But in lieu of that, I think a more focused, it's more like a marketing approach than a help wanted approach about what our island has to offer, and then cater that directly to the people that would be at that point of their life. How do we reach them? So I'm going to be working moving forward with HR to try to figure out how we can direct our efforts at that level of people. Instead of just doing a wide array, job postings in the local papers and things like that. I think our money might be better spent focusing on the people that would be at that point of their life, that this would be a great opportunity.
It sounds to me like you've got all of those aspects of the job very well in hand, and we're very fortunate to have you. And
Yeah,
for
it's-
just a couple of months, you've really got a grasp on the situation.
Well, it was really an opportunity for me because the search process was very thorough, and it was spread out over 3.5 months.
Wow.
So I got to as I went through the interview process with the other candidates, I got to do a lot of research on the island, but I also got to do a lot of research on the history of OIH and the operations, and where were they 10 years ago, where are they now, where do we want to be. Ultimately, it's a great service to the community. It's the only one of its kind on the island, which you probably would expect being a small population year-round. But it's definitely a needed service.
Right.
So the future is, I think the future is looking great for us, and with the promise and looking forward at potentially a new building, at least in part, whether it be building a new building in its entirety, or on the current land that we're on now, building a partial new building and renovating the existing building. I think it's really going to be poised to not only continue the service for the next 30, 50 years and so on, but increase services and grow in that respect.
That's excellent. It's I'm so happy you were able to be here with us, and this is really helpful to let the community get to know you better.
Anytime. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you so much. It was
You
a
bet.
pleasure.
Thank you.